Ravi and Susan, thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the Cool Data Project Show. I am Kristen Kehrer, a developer advocate for Comet, where with one function, you can make your machine learning training runs reproducible. And this is the Cool Data Project Show, where I interview practitioners in ML, DL, and AI about cool projects that they're working on. Today, our guest is neither in ML, DL, or AI. He's a software engineer, and he happens to be my husband. And so he's going to tell us a bit about the Pill Popper 3000. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. I've never been live before like this. I'm not famous. So this is an honor. But yeah, like she said, my name's Paul. I'm a software engineer. I've worked as a software engineer for 10 years. I work for Cimpress. We own the brand Vistaprint, if people are familiar. And I do manufacturing optimization software for them. So I sort of run a team of software developers, and we try to make it easier to run our factories. But yeah, I like to play video games. I like to tinker with weird little projects, as I'll get more into today. And yeah, I'm just excited to share a little bit of my wife's world today with all you lovely people. So.
Yeah, so normally we start out with the motivation. So the motivation for this project, so I had done the bus detector project. That was my first time ever using computer vision. And so it was I used YOLO V5 to detect the bus going by our house and send a text. And after I had done that project, I just started seeing many ways that we could leverage that same work to do other things. And I'm not sure who came up with the idea of doing pills, but so we decided that we were going to work together on our next project. It's very similar, but it uses a Raspberry Pi. And we bought a 3D printer to build a structure. And basically what happened was I bought a 3D printer, and then my husband became obsessed with it. And then I took our daughter to a dance event, and I came home and he had it working, doing, I mean, it was like a weird sort of, I walk in and he goes, pick up some pills. And so I go over and I pick up some pills, and he goes, ooh, good job. And so he is going to tell us a bit about the work that he has done, because he sort of went off and did a ton of work without me. Do you have more to add to the motivation for this project? I guess I didn't even share what the motivation was. The motivation is really that I don't want to worry at in the afternoon if I had taken my pills this morning. And so that's the motivation. But do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's great. Well, that's like our formal motivation, the one we tell people. Secretly, I wanted to tinker with various things. And I wanted to, play with Python API development, which I hadn't done before, and try various things. So this was also sort of a fun playground for me in certain ways. And hopefully a useful, pragmatic story.
Yeah, and so now we are going to look at the actual structure. Oh my God, I'm never inviting you on my show again. But so we're going to look at the 3D printer that we are using and the structure that we 3D printed for the Pill Popper 3000. So how we ended up with a 3D printer was, so neither of us had much CAD experience. I started using FreeCAD, which actually I felt like had a nice learning curve to it. And so I ended up in Blender. And so we were both using Blender. And so if you're thinking about getting into CAD, you might want to try that program out. It's free. And so Paul ended up designing the structure, and he was looking at getting it printed, and it was going to cost like $180. And so I went on and did some research and found out that we could get like a pretty decent printer for roughly that amount. I think it was like $189. The plastic for it is actually pretty cheap. I think it's like $25 for a kilogram of the plastic, so plenty of plastic. And then, so Paul, do you wanna show the structure?
Yeah. So this is the view of our printer, and as you can see, it's got that wheel of plastic on top. But so coming over here, I also have the earlier revision that Kristen didn't mention, but we first went out and bought this white bin. I don't know if people can hear me well enough, but we just bought this bin and hacked it up, and it didn't work that great, so we got it. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, in terms of what I did with the device, I sort of looked to the bus detector project that Kristen did, and looked at the problem initially sort of the same way, in that the bus detector is just watching. No sound at all.
That might have been from a couple minutes ago.
Oh yeah.
And you just weren't close enough to the mic.
All right. Well, as I was saying, the bus detector watches our security cam and notifies us when it sees a bus go by. The pill popper does the same thing. It's just watching its own little device, and when it sees, instead of a bus, if it sees you taking a pill, it does something. Yeah, I'm new to this whole streaming thing. I think I'm getting the delay with chat now. Thanks, everybody. But yeah, so that's what it does. And it runs really practically the same code as bus detector. I copied her right off her GitHub. It uses the YOLO v5 sort of Python package that Ultralytics has, and does object detection on the little camera that's embedded in that device. And so, yeah, I now want to sort of talk about where I went from the device, right? We'll do a demo in a minute, but as Kristen mentioned, when you take a pill, it made a sound initially. That was like the first thing it did. But I sort of, like Kristen said, she wanted to be able to not miss her medication, maybe learn about her medication practices, sort of a more open use case, I think, and sort of more opportunity for different kinds of things. And so I went ahead and tried to design sort of this mini microservice architecture, because that's what I do. And that's what I find interesting and exciting. So I now have really bland looking slides that I'm going to show you, but it helps organize my thoughts. So we've already showed you the pill popper. This is my picture of the pill popper device, that teal thing behind us. And so it plays a sound, that's fine, but what do we really want to do when somebody takes a pill? To answer that, I introduced this second component, which I creatively named the Pill Popper API. And the most important thing about the Pill Popper API is that it's completely separate from the Pill Popper. It doesn't live in the device, it lives up in Amazon's cloud. And it's not constrained by being on a Raspberry Pi or having to be sort of low power and efficient. It can just sort of live up in the cloud and be available for the pill popper at all times. available for the pill popper, whatever that means. So what happens when somebody takes a pill, the pill popper device does only one thing with that. It notices that they took the pill and it sends the pill take event to the API. Here we get at sort of what the API actually is. For people more into the tech side of things, it's a RESTful JSON API served over HTTP. Like I said, I wrote it in Python, but suffice it to say, it's simple and easy for the pill popper to communicate with it. It does a simple API call to say, save this pill take event, and the pill popper receives it. So then one of the main things it has to do is hold on to that event forever, right? Because we wanted to not only say you missed your pill 15 minutes ago, but maybe how good have I been about taking my pills the last 6 weeks? And so for that reason, I also added a connection to a persistent database. I use MongoDB just because that's what I'm most comfortable with, and I think it's a tremendous product.
Do you need to be a developer advocate?
No, I might. Should have worn some of my Mongo swag. But, right, so this is just to highlight when it receives that event, that information about you taking the pill, it stores it in a database and it can give it to you at any point in the future. But again, with just the API and you're saving the events, who cares? Because people don't use APIs. People don't interact with APIs. People like me interact with APIs. But I also introduced the pill popper dashboard, which is very exciting and is the final part of this initial architecture. And the pill popper dashboard is a website. So you just go to a URL and it loads in a browser. But it has the ability to read the events from the API that the pill popper sent. And then along with reading them, it shows them in a nice, visually pleasing manner. Or, it could in theory. I'm not much of a UI guy, but I did my best. And so, like I said, this isn't some crazy complex architecture, but what we have here is really clean separation that sort of allows us to do more creative things and change and evolve this as we go and continue to get more ideas. And so next, I want to show it in action. I'm going to show you the pill popper dashboard. Okay, I'll give everybody a minute to let it sink in. It's nice. All right. So yeah, this is the dashboard. There's nothing on it because we've never, I sort of cleaned the slate and we're running this fresh.
Okay, and then we need to add the device, and so he's going to go and take some pills.
Drop this little guy over here. All right. This is the moment of truth. So, come over, grab my pills.
Oh man, did not work. Awkward.
Ooh, good job.
And just like that, it worked perfectly. Right? And you can see it right on the dashboard. And we'll give it another try. I'll take this. This is my dog's pain medication.
Ooh, good job.
And yeah, put that back.
Ooh, good job.
Copy twice.
Yeah, we need to write some logic for that.
Oh no, that was flawless. So as you can see, as I was interacting with the pill popper, sorry, I just caught Scott Taylor's.
Scott's hilarious. Yeah, just
quite.
ignore him.
It is too clever for my train of thought. But yeah, so this UI is constantly sort of asking the API, do you have any new events for me? And what's really cool, sort of an effect of the architecture, if I unplug the device or something happens to the device temporarily, the dashboard will still be able to show you all the events from the past because the dashboard doesn't depend directly on the device. The dashboard talks to the API, et cetera, et cetera. But wait, there's more. So I'm trying to up the showmanship.
You're doing great, babe.
We had this, I'll tell this story. Over breakfast, we were getting ready to get the kids on the bus. And Kristen, I can let you tell the story, but Kristen was like, she had something on her mind that she wanted to like jot down or something, but she didn't feel like she was too lazy to jot it down. And so she's like, I wish I could just, tell something and it automatically saves something for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if she meant.
No, I think we were talking about the pill popper. It was like related.
Yeah.
It was related-ish.
And so, right, my head immediately went to, let's fit that in to what we've already done here with the pill popper. And so I have this second diagram where this is the same. Oh, I'm not showing it, am I? No, I'm not. Share this tab again. So here's a new diagram I have. So this is the same architecture as before. I've just moved it out of the way. And to solve Kristen's problem of being able to really easily record a note, I thought, let's just make an Alexa skill and pipe it into the same architecture and see if we can unify everything and have everything together. And so to do that, I wrote an Alexa skill, which I'm not going to go into too much, but Amazon has like a tremendous amount of documentation and support for Alexa skill development, and it was great. And so what this enables in the ecosystem is something like this, where we have a lovely user of the tool saying, perhaps, Alexa, tell my calendar to record that I ate a nourishing breakfast today. And the Alexa service, along with my skill, turns that into a specific command that then gets saved to the Pill Popper API. And we can also similarly say, tell me my recent events, and Alexa will interact with the API and read those things back as text. And finally, what this enables is that dashboard that we have, which used to show pill take events, all of a sudden has the ability to just get all events, which I just think is cool, because now instead of being the Pill Popper dashboard, I've started to think of it as like the home health dashboard, home automation. I don't know. The sky's the limit. And we don't have super specific requirements, which is fun. We get to make it up as we go along. But so I'm just going to show the dashboard one time. And Alexa, ask my calendar to record that I drank 2 glasses of water after breakfast today.
I have recorded the following note. I drank 2 glasses of water after breakfast today.
Right? That's cool. And you can also say, Alexa, ask my calendar to read my recent events. That was close. Alexa, ask my calendar to tell me my recent events.
You recorded the following on January 13th at 12:18 p.m. I drank 2 glasses of water after breakfast today.
So that's it, everybody. That's what I have to show. I think I do want to answer Pedro asked about the confidence score. The confidence score is an...
And then you took your pills on January 13th.
Alexa, exit. Sorry. The confidence score is an output of the trained YOLO V5 model. I didn't talk too much about the training, but I really copied Kristen's process for the bus detector project and used the Pill Popper device to capture images.
And the confidence here is really low, and it's because we don't have a ton of training images. So what we do is actually, and what we did was take video of ourselves picking up pill bottles. That becomes frames. We then annotate the frames so that we can pump that into the model. And so, yeah.
So this is the type of imagery we're working with right now. So it's like somewhat limited, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, it's working enough for a demo, but yes, it's not really buttoned up.
And Monica, thank you for noticing that. I really enjoyed playing with Alexa's structured speech markup language, which allows me to add random emotion to things. So yes, that was intentional. Not for any good reason. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. And then, so what do you see as the next sort of thing that you're going to build out for this?
Right. So to this point, it's largely been sort of in development and sort of figuring it out. But I think with it at this point where it works reasonably well and reasonably reliably, my primary thing is seeing it working in the wild.
Which is our bathroom.
Specifically being the upstairs bathroom, and actually having Kristen keep her pills in it and use it, and because what that unlocks is makes it easier to ask the questions of what could we do with this data now that we have it, because we know more specifically one of the most valuable features was the one we started with, which was let me know when I've missed my pills. So that would require adding some notion of when you'd like to take your pills, and then having the API be able to evaluate were the events that you submitted today, did they fulfill what you said were your requirements, and if they don't, notify you at some schedule or something. So I do think that would be a good feature, but I also like to just sort of keep an open mind and see what's fun and exciting, or what our next, I don't know, the bus detector addressed such a specific need that the family had at the time that I like to, we might have something that the pill popper API ecosystem will be perfectly suited for, and I don't know about it yet.
I hope you find that.
Oh, I'll be watching.
All right, awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today, Paul. This was a wonderful session. I really enjoyed hearing about where you took this project without me. And yeah, so I think that is all we have to share today. I hope everyone enjoyed this session, and if you have any questions, you can of course reach out to me. All right, I hope everyone has a great day. Bye.